call of the Hawks can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Pod at the Palace presented by SARACEN, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis here with you from the SAP Center in San Jose as we wrap up Media Day here with the Razorbacks and Arizona. We're kind of in the bowels of the SAP Center. It's packed in there in the media room. We didn't want to disturb people. We realize our background looks a little bit crazy, so just so you know, we're in the dungeon. We're on club level over here. Okay, this is a legit operation. It just so happens that it looks weird behind us, but we had to make sure that the lighting was okay there. So that's what's really going on, in case you guys were wondering. But we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. It's not ruining our vibes, and this is vibe check day here on a Wednesday. And at this point, we've been able to take in practice for both teams. It was a full practice that they had, so this is not. Last weekend it was kind of we're just going to go and shoot around for a half hour. Then we're going to go to somebody else's campus and have a full practice. No, they had an hour and 45 minutes in the SAP. It's a prep day. It's a legit practice day. Now, we only got the first 15 minutes of these practices, but still carried a little bit of a different vibe. And then we had locker room access, press conferences, all that. And we've got all that on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check it out. Some really good stuff. I think you guys will get a kick out of the stuff that was in the arena, but also I think this is maybe our best day yet when it comes to the locker room interviews. It was a great time, but we always like to give our personal takeaways, observations, and the aftermath and kind of give you a little bit of a feel for what the feel is here on site, where the Sweet 16 is going down in about 24 hours. We've been waiting. I feel like we've been here for a week, man. And we're also going to hit you guys with a little preview just of the, the keys to the game and everything like that. But Andrew, thanks for being here again, buddy. As always, it's been an eventful day, a long day. I think a really fun day. What do you make of what we saw?
It's been awesome, man. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I was excited to just get back to work because we've been kind of loafing in San Jose. Just, we've been doing content. We've been doing our shows and stuff. But there was nothing. We weren't around the team at all. We weren't around Coach Cal. We weren't really sensing those vibes. So it really was like just kind of, hey, we got a lot of time on our hands. Today was good to have something to do here, and we got to be around the team. I didn't know for sure. You mentioned the hour and 45-minute practice before we spoke to the team, whereas it was the exact opposite, where we speak to the team for 10 minutes, and then they go out and practice for like a 30-minute practice or whatever. Very different situation. I don't know if it was that or if it was just they feel great about themselves. They've been bonding for 3 days, whatever it was. They were in great spirits. The vibe in that locker room was tremendous. I thought everybody was in a pretty good headspace, and we were able to talk more in depth with people today than we ever have, because it's a little bit of a madhouse sometimes. You get maybe 2 or 3 questions here and there. I was around Darius Acuff for 5.5 minutes of just talking to Darius Acuff. There's other people around.
Better vibes.
But yeah, and Darius Acuff, of course, was a little bit more willing. I'm sure someone pulled him aside after Portland and was like, hey, you kind of have to talk to the media. Like, I know it sucks and they're nerds, but you got to do it. But I thought he was great. You guys got to talk to Malik Thomas, DJ Wagner, just talking to everyone. And Nick Pringle, by the way, who was very engaging, very open to talk to everybody. And even when we get done talking to Nick, I can still hear every single question and answer that he's being asked, because he talks so loudly and is very intentional with the way that he talks. And I thought it was great, man. And I like seeing Arkansas out on the court, seeing Nick Pringle out on the court, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. But it was just overall, today was about as productive and made me feel very good as I could have possibly expected going into it.
This, to me, rivals how I felt when we were in Providence the day before they played St. John's. I remember walking out of there thinking, I don't know if it's going to amount to anything the next day, but I feel really, really good about the energy and the positivity around the team. There was just something about that felt a little bit different. And I feel that today. I didn't feel that last week, to be honest with you, but they were playing Hawaii and High Point, whatever. Really, really like that today. I like what you said about Nick Pringle. Let's start there. We'll start with the practice stuff, and then we'll go to the locker room stuff. But we got to start with injury row, because that's what is on everybody's mind. We'll start right here. Carter Knox with the team, not practicing. I know there's some chatter about, well, maybe he'll be ready for the Sweet 16 instead of the Final Four. Cal maybe didn't shut the door on that. Carter obviously told us maybe a little bit ambitiously there, like, hey, I'm trying to get back. Well, of course he is. But he was not dressed out, was not participating with the team in practice. Could it be like double top secret stuff where immediately he, laced up the shoes and got out there when they kicked the media out? Yeah, maybe, but probably not. Like, I just would not anticipate that being a thing. as we go forward into tomorrow. Trevor Brazil, he took the hard hit against High Point, up high, his neck, his head, whatever that was, and it looked like he was favoring his shoulder, and he just looked like he didn't feel good at all after that High Point game. We're several days removed. He looked fine out there. Maybe the first couple shots, he was getting loose a little bit, but after that, he was good to go. It looks like he's facing no ill effects from that game against High Point. But you mentioned Nick Pringle. The only time my vibes weren't good were when we first got in there at practice, because you got the bigs warming up doing their drills, and once again we see Nick Pringle. He's off to the side with the athletic training staff, and he was doing some lateral movement, some lane slides, and some A skips. Like he was trying to get himself going a little bit, like maybe they were testing that thing out. Kind of felt like it did before the High Point game, until he jumped into drills and started dunking basketballs, taking jumpers. And it looked like right about the time they were getting us out of there that he was, I don't know if he was a full participant, but he sure as hell was doing a lot more than he was last week.
Yeah, definitely. My optimism was a lot more at the end of the practice, the 15 minutes that we get to watch, than it was the beginning, for those reasons that you mentioned. We also got to talk to Nick after. He was the first guy we talked to, and we asked him to put a percentage on it. And he said about 80. Yeah. He was honest. He didn't say, oh, I'm 100%, I'm ready to roll. He said, I'm about 80%. But then when we said, hey, so are you playing? He was like, yeah, I'm playing. Now, I also heard him tell someone, and it wasn't super definitive. He was kind of like, yeah, I'm probably going to play. I don't know if he changed his mind after talking to us a little bit, but he did. You could tell he's trying to get back out there, and he understands the importance of this thing and all that. I also think it's just one of those situations where I don't know if anybody on the team is 100%. So him being at 80% might not sound like a huge deal. That sounds like he's probably trending more towards playing. And then, of course, you've got more than 24 hours after right now for him to kind of feel a little bit better. I feel better about his chances to play. I just appreciated how, and I mentioned this earlier, like how engaging he was and how open and willing he was to talk. And he was that way last week as well. And seems like that's just kind of his personality. Seems like he's that role on the team. But I think the team could certainly use him on the court, his physicality. But I continue to feel like his leadership presence on this team is kind of underrated.
I will take 80% of Nick Pringle and 100% of his 5 fouls.
Of course.
In this basketball game, and I'm good with that. I was trying to do the thing with the other guys that we interviewed, kind of throwing it in there like, it's not for sure about Nick, but hey, what was it going to mean if he's back? Just to kind of gauge how those guys went about responding to that question. And to a man, all of them are like, oh, getting Nick back will be awesome, as if it was a foregone conclusion, because they know if he's going to play or not, unless it's truly a game time decision or something, which I just don't think is the case. So once again, I anticipate Nick being available. I think he's going to actually play in this basketball game. They need him to play in this basketball game. I was also wrong about that before the High Point game. So I reserve the right to be wrong again, but definitely feel a lot better about the situation today than we did on Saturday, right?
Of course. Yeah, definitely. And that was just kind of the sense you got. I feel like that's part of why you hold him out against High Point, is because you're like, we wanted to be for real ready to go against Arizona. And I think if there's ever a time to leave it all out there on the floor, it's got to be when you're playing the number 1 seed.
Sure. And so we were in there for 15 minutes of practice, and I think John got 11 minutes worth of video in there. So that's pretty good. You guys will see most of it. But the only time that I felt like the energy was off was right when we got in there, when all those guys are like, where is the music? Like, why are we not playing music, man? We don't want to hear ourselves out here. And that was pretty funny. But I thought they were as loose and lighthearted and spirited as I've seen them in any of these settings before. And these include teams in the past. Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas joking around with each other and everything out there, which I thought was good. It was a sight to see, especially with Darius, man. He was all smiles. They were messing with the GAs a little bit, and those guys were messing back with him. He's like, give me the pass, give me the ball. And the guy rolled one to him, and he picked it up and made the 3. And he's like, I'm good with that, man. Like, I practice these shots all day. I can make any shot. Just really did enjoy that. I think you got a video of Acuff shoving one of the GAs across the court.
Kind of doing the making them flinch thing too.
Exactly. So I thought that was awesome, man. Those guys were lively. They were upbeat, making shots in there. Obviously, something that you're going to look at. It was a little bit cold. I saw a bunch of guys doing what's an NHL arena. So, that's just going to kind of be the case. It was funny though. And I want to get all your thoughts on what you saw in there in the gym, but it feels like we posted that video and the star of the show was Paolo Samito out of nowhere for making a few jumpers and being in there. People are like, oh, why can't he play? I meant to talk to him in the locker room, just like, bro, you're an Inside Arkansas celebrity. based on these practice videos, but he was in and out of there pretty quick. Speaking of in and out, that's what the team meal was afterwards. So all those guys, they had the fries, the burgers, the shakes, a little bit of everything, just all out on this table. I started trying to swipe some, but it was kind of funny to see those guys flock to that a little bit. We were like, is the nutritionist here? Like, what's going on?
I witnessed a really funny moment where Billy Richmond walks in with his basket full of In-N-Out fries, and he was informed by one of the media guys that, hey, there's a woman from Memphis and she wants to have you on or whatever. And he just says, all right, cool. And grabs a handful of fries and just stuffs them down his face. And then while we were talking to him, he kept thinking it was the last question. So he kept like almost getting up to grab the fries. And it's like, hey, we'll let you eat your fries in just a minute. Just relax for a little bit. It'll be all right. I don't want to knock our Inside Arkansas commenters. We love them all. We appreciate everybody. Seriously, we really do appreciate everybody that's supporting our content and consuming it. I saw different things from Paulo Semedo. I did not necessarily see a guy that was like, oh yeah, this dude's about to be a monster all of a sudden. I think you're probably looking at a 2 or 3 year development project there.
Hit a couple threes and they're like, oh.
Yeah, the thing that really jumped out to me, and it's the same thing that jumped out to me last week, Acuff and Malik Thomas just have a different level of focus. They also, talk about people interacting with each other. They were interacting with each other, kind of supporting, laughing, supporting one another. Elite kept they were about to transition to a new thing, and Billy Richmond kept shooting corner threes, and he kept missing them. But every single time he would shoot it, Thomas was kind of like, oh, yeah, good shot, Billy. Good shot, Bill. And then it just kept not going in. But he was like trying so hard to pump up his guy. And you could tell people were over the top reacting when things, they're counting all the makes. Like the energy was good from that standpoint. But Acuff and Thomas just have a different just level of consistency as shooters that nobody else on this team has, if I'm being honest with you. They went through a stretch where it was like 2 straight minutes, just three, and they were not hitting the rim on any of these things. Those dudes are just professional level players, like their skills, but also the way they just approach basketball is at a much higher level. And it's crazy to see that, because you would think that some of these 22, 23-year-old guys would have like a little bit, more sophisticated approach. That is not the case, dude. Arkansas's 2 freshmen, their youngest players, 2 of their 3 freshmen, 2 of their youngest players are as, focused, dialed, and just sharp. And they never are just kind of half-assing it out there.
Sure. Once we got into the locker room, because we had 15 minutes there at the practice, and it was 15 minutes on the dot. You didn't get in a second before, you didn't get to stay a second after. This is the most organized place, and I like it that we've been to.
Yeah.
Because we were kind of just chasing our tails in Portland, man. Like there was nobody to ask questions to, nobody to help. And they're going out of their way to be like, hey, what are you looking for? This is where you go. This is what you do. I kind of like, me, I'm a structure guy. So that's been good. I'm actually surprised they're letting us do this here. But at any rate, once we got into the locker room, one of the things I was looking for, and I think I mentioned this on the pod yesterday, and I mentioned on Inside Arkansas Live today, like I wanted to see what Acuff's demeanor was like, because you just knew he was going to get swarmed by media. And right away we saw that he wasn't going to be on the podium for the press conference. I was like, so he's just going to be sitting in his locker for 30 minutes with all these cameras in his face. And they were in his face for 30 minutes. And I thought he was awesome, man. He was smiling. He was way more engaging. I overheard, now I know you were over there with him for a while we're getting some of the other guys, but at one point I was standing over there waiting to get to Malik Thomas, and I was listening in on the Acuff stuff. And somebody asked him, what was the most important thing to you when it comes to these shoes? And he goes, the price.
Yeah. It was the only time that Acuff had a dismissive demeanor was when the Reebok AI questions. Yeah. Our guy Jackson Fuller, and love Jackson Fuller, stud. I don't know if maybe his, he just wasn't dialed in today or not, but he kept asking Acuff questions that didn't really make any sense. And he asked him, he was like, hey, how cool was it to meet AI the other day? And Acuff was like, well, I met him 2 years ago. So it was cool when I did meet him. But yeah, AI is cool. But no, Acuff definitely was a lot more willing to talk a little bit. And again, I think he understands, he's going to have to do this for the rest of his career. It's also a little bit harder to be dismissive when you have 10 cameras in your face and you got national media there, local media, but he was awesome. And I liked some of the things he said about bringing the team closer together. He felt like and everyone on the team said this. We asked pretty much everyone about it, and everyone gave a good answer in terms of the last 3 days. You think about it. These guys did not fly back to Fayetteville. They didn't even get down to San Jose. We got to San Jose before the team. They stopped in Sacramento, go to a Kings game, switch in hotels. That is a huge time for your team camaraderie a little bit. And it seemed like everyone really appreciated that. All the guys to just kind of let loose a little bit. And like, it's cool when you're interacting with your team, getting ready for a game. It's a little bit different when you have 4 days to kill with nothing else to do. So they've just been kind of bonding. I heard Nick Pringle say his stomach hurt yesterday from laughing. So we were just having too much fun. We're just goofing around a little bit. But even, it means something when even Acuff is like, yeah, we've been bonding the last few days. Yeah. It's been cool. And he also talked about him and Malik Thomas, because I asked him about the clip of him and Malik at the McDonald's All-American game, kind of talking about these moments. And he's like, yeah, from the day we met each other, we've been talking about these things and kind of preparing to play in the NCAA tournament together. So it's just cool to see it all come to fruition. And you can tell he's right where he believes he needs to be, which is in the Sweet 16, playing as a top team in the country and getting ready to put on a show once again.
I would like to formally apologize maybe to DJ Wagner, because we might have cost him a game of pool that he was playing on his phone against Aiden Kelly there in his locker. Because, when these guys, when media's not talking to them, they're available. They're just kind of sitting there. But, they're doing what everybody else does, just kind of in their phone or whatever. He was playing pool. I didn't realize he was playing against a teammate. And so we walked over and said, hey, man, can we get a couple minutes for you? And he was like, oh, yeah, for sure. But it was almost like he was mid-shot and he just dropped his phone.
Yeah, it's tough.
It might have caused him a scratch, man. I don't know. So my bad. I hope you didn't have any money on that with Aiden there. It was pretty funny. But, yeah, no, I thought those guys were good. Billy Richmond's energy in there was awesome. We waited for him because he was on the podium. And when he got freed up, they were like, okay, you have 2 minutes. So we went rapid fire with Billy and loved his responses there. Andrew asked him about the Billy Goat thing and does he have a favorite nickname? And he's a big downhill Bill guy. And I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we might have started that last year.
Someone in the chat fact check us for this, because it very is possible that like when he was in high school, people were already calling him this.
Could be.
I remember vividly the stream. I don't remember the game, but I remember us being on a watch party live stream and he had a downhill layup, and you said something in a weird voice about him being downhill Bill, and I just remember it cracking me up. And then after that, we kind of started using it as a nickname. And
look,
that was early in his freshman year, and like I don't know. I feel like we may have got that to his radar. He didn't even know he was talking to the inventors of downhill Bill.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, I like the energy from those guys. They're always the guys though who are dialed in. Like Malik Thomas, it was focus. We're not worried about the underdog thing. We don't care about what anybody thinks. It's just we're going out there. We're being competitors. The company line, but he means it when he says it. I did get a smile out of him though, because I was like, hey man, you kind of gifted the whole team those headphones a while back. So I guess that means you get a pair of these shoes from Acuff, right? And he had a big smile on his face. He was like, I think that's something that we can probably work out. But then he was very complimentary of Darius. He's like, that's awesome though, right? Like how big is that for him and everything? And I'm thinking, dude, you're going to have your own pretty soon. Yeah. So it's just a matter of time, my man. But no, I liked it. It was good. Anything else stand out to you from the locker room? I know there were a couple things from the press conference that I wanted to touch on real quick before we kind of move on to Arizona.
Nothing crazy from the locker room other than, we got about 2 minutes with Malik Ewan. He seems to be doing fine. He did. Yeah. Did he fake a phone call to try and avoid people talking to him?
People were talking, maybe.
I was kind of eyeballing the phone to see if I could see his lock screen or something like that. He may have done it a little bit, but he was cool. He was willing to speak to us and all that. But honestly, nothing other than just the fact that there was so many people in there. It was a little bit claustrophobic in there, but it's just cool to see that many media people and people that we don't recognize, but also some national guys that we do recognize, and just kind of seeing everybody in there. And I just continue to really appreciate the way that this team interacts with one another, and you can tell that these guys are actual friends outside of basketball, that these guys actually spend time with one another, which is cool. You can feel that when you're in there.
For sure. Ewan kind of he kind of slipped in there, that we were talking about him defending that big man. But on the other end, can you make that a matchup advantage for you? Because, Krilas he's very, very good and talented, but he's not the fleetest of foot. And Ewan was just like, oh, yeah, absolutely. With our versatility, we're going to run a bunch of 5 out and we're just going to attack him and get him moving, beat him up and down the floor. I was like, that's what I've been looking for from somebody, because this has very much been a team that is either, they're a great team or whatever, but we're focused on us. Or it's we're not going to give away our game plan, which we're not asking for. But it's like, hey, when you see Arizona, what stands out? What is it about this guy? So for Ewan to give us that, I was like, thank God, man, somebody. Pretty good stuff there. From the podium, obviously John Calipari was up there, and it was TB and Billy. It feels like every team puts up, 3 guys up there besides Arkansas. Maybe it's because they don't play that many. They want to have some in the locker room. I don't know.
I appreciate it from when we're in the locker room.
Yeah, exactly. But Cal, I guess, and he had some bangers in there. Like he was funny, engaging. maybe one of his better performances. But one of the things that stood out to me is he has now tripled down on this notion of, hey, I am playing Isaiah Sealy tomorrow. And when we heard that yesterday, when he was talking about on McAfee, I was immediately like, shit, who's hurt? Like is TB have some lingering effects? Like, what is really going on here? But like Cal said, he was like, what did he say? He's like, I had a premonition or something, or I had a dream that I needed to play Isaiah Sealy. And when I get those hunches like that, I just do it. So that's the plan tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, brother, let's go. I'm good for it, especially if you have Nick too, and if you want to play Sealy, that could mean a couple minutes here and there. But I think about this Arizona team that as big and physical as they are, the way they draw fouls, get another body in there. You're not asking Sealy to go out there and score 15 for you. It's just get up and down the floor for a few possessions, be where you need to be defensively, grab a rebound, and don't turn it over.
How often does it happen in life where you hear someone say something and you're like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but then they tell you why they feel that way, and you're like, okay, I maybe still don't agree, but I at least understand like where you're coming from. I appreciated that from what Cal had to say today, because he said it on McAfee yesterday. He said Malik Sealy is going to play, which apparently he did it again at some point during the press conference. Which is interesting.
There are a lot of Maliks on this team.
There are a lot of Maliks on the team. But anyways, when we first kind of heard, okay, Isaiah Sealy's going to play, does that mean Pringle's out? Does that mean Trevin's out? Like, what does that mean? That has to be a domino effect. And Cal did kind of clear that up, that this is not a reaction to something else. This isn't even a matchup. Oh, we have to play him against Arizona type of thing. He basically just said, I'm buying stock in Isaiah Sealy, the player. And he said a few times now, his favorite thing as a coach is when people will come up to him and say, oh, I knew that guy was good. I didn't know he was this good. And he said, I think Isaiah Sealy is going to be a guy that you will look up in 2 or 3 years and be like, oh, goodness, where did this dude come from? Cal is of that belief. Is he right? Is he wrong? I don't know. But that's what he believes, that Isaiah Sealy has a ton of untapped potential, just needs to be coached, just needs to get those opportunities, just needs to go out there and play and evolve and grow. And I'm looking forward to seeing if he gets that opportunity. But I think that regardless of how much he winds up playing in this matchup, because this is a 1 seed, this is a Sweet 16 game, there's not really a ton of time in the middle of the game to be like, all right, now let's develop Isaiah Sealy for a few minutes. But the fact that Cal is speaking that positively about him is a good sign to me. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the right mentality for Isaiah, for this coaching staff to be telling to Isaiah, like, hey, we believe in you. We need you to be ready to play. Will we actually play you? Will it be 10 minutes or 2 minutes? I don't know. But you need to be ready to play, and you need to understand why we're playing you, because we believe in you. And I thought that was really cool. And just good to hear from Cal, because I honestly, when he said it on McAfee yesterday, I was kind of like, why is that happening? But now he explained it, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and Sealy has played some very important and good basketball for Arkansas at different times throughout the season. I know he hasn't been in the rotation. I know this is different in the Sweet 16, but hey, he got in there in both games against Hawaii and against High Point. You think about when Arkansas came off that bye, when you had DJ and Carter out, the minutes he gave on the road at Mississippi State, on the road at LSU, you're not even asking that from him. But it's not like this guy hasn't played all year, and obviously he had his moments in non-conference. And I'll be very interested to see, because one thing that Arizona has going for them is size. Yeah. And they have it on the wings, they have it in the front court, they have it in the back court, they have it a little bit of everywhere. And where Arkansas is thin, though, is on the wing without having Carter Knox available. Billy, it's going to be difficult, I think, for Arkansas to play a whole bunch of 3-guard in a game like this. I'm trying to think off the bench for Arizona. Del Orso comes off, and he's skinnier, but he's 6'6", and the freshman Aristode, he's a big boy. So I don't know how much of the DJ Leak A-cuff thing we're going to see. Billy's got to get a breather here and there, just a little bit, especially if there's foul trouble or something. So I'm all for the Isaiah idea. Last thing from the players up there at the podium, you brought this to my attention. So I guess Billy Richmond. As a matter of fact, I'll let you tell it if you want to. But some really good stuff from Billy and TB, and basically TB just really lifting up his guy there. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'll have to go back and listen. I honestly think that TB may have misheard this a little bit, but there was a question to Billy Richmond about, hey, you've really stepped up here lately, and you found a groove, and now you're the Billy Goat. You were off the bench to start the year. Now you've started the last 14 games, and you've really come into your own. You're having a bigger impact on this team. Like, what's that been like? And Billy himself was like, yeah, I know I'm not the best scorer. I know I'm not the best facilitator necessarily. Like, that's not my role in this team. I just kind of find where I need to fit in, and I do the best to help the guys out, which is what we already know about Billy Richmond and all that. Well, then the next question the same guy asked Trevin, "Hey, who's the better dunker? You or Billy Richmond?" And before Trevin even answered, well, he was like, Billy Richmond's a better dunker than me, which humble. I technically disagree with Trevin Brazil there. I think he's the better dunker, but he's being humble. He's putting his guy over. But then he was like, but actually, by the way, I think Billy's a great scorer, and I think Billy's a great facilitator. And he's like, that's how you should have framed the question, was asked him about how good of a scorer. And I was like, oh, dang. Trevin like took it personally for his guy. And I don't think Billy took it personally. And I also don't think the guy was even trying to like throw a shot at Billy. But I love that TB was like, let me defend my guy here. He felt like he needed to defend his guy. He defended his guy. I don't know if that necessarily was the case there, but I love to see that from TB.
Yeah, and that is awesome under any circumstances. But when you think about TB, he's usually a man of few words in those settings. So for him to interject like that, I think that's a good sign, man. I like it a lot. I would defend Billy to the death. So I'm proud.
And Billy would also defend us to the death, just if he knew we needed it.
There's absolutely zero doubt about that whatsoever. All right, we've got some observations on Arizona as well. But first, we have to tell you guys about Gracie Frizzell of Collier and Associates. She's our official real estate expert here at Inside Arkansas. Officially licensed in both Arkansas and Oklahoma, Gracie is here to take care of all your real estate needs. Whether you're looking for investment property, a game day getaway, land investment, or a new home, Gracie is your trusted guide from start to finish. Give her a call or text today at 501-690-3868 for questions on all things real estate, or check her out on Instagram at Gracie Frizz. It's Gracie Frizzell of Collier and Associates, the official real estate expert here at Inside Arkansas. And today's episode is also presented by Hickey and Hull Law Partners here in Arkansas, where they handle matters such as divorce, custody, criminal, civil litigation, and more. The foundation of a strong attorney-client relationship is honesty and trust, and Hickey & Hull Law prides themselves on building relationships with their clients by providing honest, principled advice and representation. They push the case forward for their clients, advocating for them in a diligent and consistent manner from start to finish. Hickey & Hull Law have offices across the state of Arkansas in Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Little Rock, and Mena. You can give them a call today at 479-434-2414, or you can check out their website. Visit hickeyandhull.com. It's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. Okay, Andrew. So we have now seen Arizona as well today. I know you went in the locker room for a couple minutes there. I listened in on Tommy Lloyd's press conference, and then we got out there for the 15 minutes to see those guys in practice. Let's start with the practice stuff, because it's size them up day, right? And I don't know about you, but to me, they are what we thought they were. Huge. So Arizona is big. And it wasn't one of those deals where I walked in there and go, oh, wow, this is more than I thought it was. No, it was about right, because I've kind of likened them to Tennessee is what I've compared them to. Not as a team, Arizona's better than Tennessee, but from a physical standpoint, that's kind of where you're at. They got Krivas. We'll talk about these guys individually. He's a Haas in there, but the rest of them, it's not 6'11" with these crazy long arms that are just flying around at you, but they got a bunch of dudes who look like 6'7" to 6'8" Nick Pringles. Like, that's the kind of build they have. Big, broad shoulders, strong, big chest boys. And they're thick in there. That's what you said as we were walking over here. And it's true. This is a big basketball team. But I got to tell you, Arkansas, they're going to have their advantages too. And it comes with athleticism, playing above the rim, and getting up and down the floor. All these things that we kind of thought would be the case after seeing them in action and seeing them up close in person. An impressive-looking team, but I don't feel any differently right now than I did before we went in there.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't argue that like they aren't a super big and super physical team, but I'm with you in the point you made earlier on Inside Arkansas Live, is that I feel like the physicality aspect of this game is being overblown just a little bit. And I like what you've said about how it's a little bit different. It's not like Florida, who just plays 3 7-footers. You've got just kind of a different body types here. It's funny, if you lined up Arizona's basketball team and you said, point to the Tennessee transfer, I think everyone would be able to point to Awaka and be like, that's the guy right there. And Koa Pete, what's interesting about Koa Pete is, he's such a highly touted freshman, and I think there was a while where he was kind of viewed as this top draft prospect, and his draft status has dipped throughout this season because people have kind of seen, okay, wait a minute, he's not this super explosive athlete, not a good shooter. But guys like Koa Pete and the body type that he has really thrive in college basketball. Like, how often do we see these guys that are good in college basketball that are 6'7", 6'8", just thick guys that are able to kind of be effective down low? Koa Pete is kind of one of those guys. So I feel like Koa Pete, if he sticks around for 2-3 years, like, he's going to end up being like a historically great college basketball player. I don't think he's that great of an NBA draft prospect, if I'm being honest with you, but seeing him up close in person, very like, I don't, the 6'7", 6'8" height is what it is. He's definitely 235, 240, maybe even a little bit bigger. He is a big guy. And Krivas, every bit of 7'2". I think for Arkansas, you absolutely look at those guys, and it cannot be as simple for Krivas as just catching the ball down low and finishing against, guys like Trevin Brazile or Malik Ewing, because he's going to be able to do that. They've got to make these dudes work and play a different brand of basketball. The thing that really jumps out when you watch Arizona, though, is they're really well-rounded. I don't really think there's a weakness in this roster. You look out on the floor and you're not like, oh, wow, do they have enough size? Do they have enough versatility? Do they have enough in the backcourt? Like, they're pretty well-rounded, and so they're going to be ready to play whatever style of basketball Arkansas wants to play, even if that is fast, but Arkansas needs this game to be that way.
Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, Krivas is he's huge, and I kind of agree with what Malik Ewing told us. They got to get out and run. They got to get up and down the floor, see if you can beat them down the floor. Test that conditioning. He's not going to want to get into a track meet. Now, if he does and he gets worn out or get him in foul trouble, they've got a Toby Awaka that they can turn to who's maybe a little bit more equipped for that. But I'm with you. And I thought going into this that Arkansas would probably need to bring some help down in the post when they are able to dump it into the big fella in there. I still believe that. You're just not going to be able to play one-on-one. He's too tall and he's too strong. You're not going to be able to really knock him off his spot too much. You're going to have extra help down there. It's just going to be jump hook city, and he's going to kill you. So I would anticipate Arkansas doing some of that. Pete, big boy. It's very cliche thing to say, but it's so true. Doesn't look like a freshman. He is, man. He's every bit of that 235. That trio of guys there, and Krivas, Pete, and Awaka are the guys that you really have to watch when you're thinking about Arkansas from a rebounding standpoint in this game. Now, here's the thing, and we'll blend this in here as we talk about what we saw today and a little bit of a preview on what the keys for Arkansas, everything like that. But who really killed Arkansas on the offensive glass this year is really two teams. One was Michigan State, that was very early in the season, and the other was Florida. Really hurt Arkansas on the backboards there. And we talked about the difference in their length versus some of these other teams. You think about the best rebounding teams in the country that Arkansas has faced. Houston, Arkansas won that rebounding battle. What's Houston's MO? It's toughness, it's strength, it's physicality. Tennessee, Arkansas out-rebounded Tennessee in that basketball game. What's their MO? It's the toughness, the strength, and the physicality as opposed to the above-the-rim athleticism. It feels like, and I'm not saying that Arkansas is going to go out here and out-rebound Arizona, but they've been able to overcome those types of teams better than they have the teams who can kind of match them from a wingspan and above the rim play standpoint. Believe it, don't believe it, go look at the numbers. It's true.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when you're playing teams that are big and physical, you always say, oh, we got to match their physicality.
No, you don't.
I was going to say, and
exactly.
To an extent, maybe mentality-wise, but I look at someone like Koa Pete, and I'm like, okay, big, strong guy. Trevin Brazile is a taller, longer, more explosive athlete. I think the matchup needs to be that simple. Yeah, he might be able to get you and kind of throw an elbow in your gut, but if you get in good position, you can use your athleticism a little bit. Same with Malik Ewing. We talked about him kind of putting that pressure offensively because he's a guy that Arkansas can run offense through in the post. I think he can get some guys in foul trouble. I think that's going to be very interesting. But you're faster than Krivas. You're a little bit quicker. And we know how active Malik Ewing can be on the offensive glass. I would like to see him kind of impose his will a little bit and get some of that going as well. And so I just think you look out on the court and it's, Arizona is what they are. You are not going to be able to just replicate what they are and what they represent. But you've got some pretty good skills in your own back pocket, and I would like to see Arkansas make Arizona have to deal with your issues. If this game really does come down to Malik Ewing and Krivas trading jump hooks, well, Krivas is probably going to win that one. Yeah. But if this game comes down to Krivas has to run up and down the court, has to take some fouls, has to defend near the rim, defending ball screens, like that is going to be a little bit different. And so I think Arkansas's got a lot of skill sets they can utilize in this matchup. But of course, you still need to have an answer for what Arizona does. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle, how they can just hold serve in the rebound department. I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think what Arizona out-rebound Utah State by like 26 or something. And
they needed a lot of those rebounds, man.
They did. Now, I'd be very disappointed if they did that to Arkansas. But the main thing is keeping them off the offensive glass as much as you can there and limiting the damage because, we know that the the misses that Arkansas forces, sometimes it can be few and far between. And when you get those, you certainly can't give up second chances because it's probably not going to go well for you. And I know everybody looks at it because it's true. Like, Arkansas's weaknesses do kind of play into Arizona's strengths from this standpoint. That is a fact going into this basketball game. But to your point, like, how can Arkansas then flip the script a little bit and find an advantage elsewhere? Because you're right, man. Like, they're not going to reinvent the wheel. They're not all of a sudden going to get in the weight room and become a lot stronger and start pushing Arizona around. But can you get them up and down? Can you make this a track meet? Can you limit the big fella's ability to impact the game by beating him out in the open floor, or forcing him to have to help because Acuff is getting by his man and then it's Lob City because he's got to leave? Those are the ways that Arkansas can exploit their matchups here. I will say, though, and these guys are not small by any means, where I was more concerned going into this was what it would look like from a physicality in the backcourt standpoint, because you see the numbers, like the height and weight for like a Jaden Bradley and a Braden Burries, and I was thinking, is this going to be a game where Arizona's guards try to get really physical with Arkansas's freshman backcourt? And they probably will try to do that. I imagine that's going to be a part of the deal. They might put the Karchenkov kid, who is a 6'7", 230-pound wing, on a Malik Thomas and try to mix it up some. It wouldn't surprise me if they did that. But as far as their guards are concerned, they're well put together. But I don't think we're going to look out there with Acuff and Thomas against Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries and go, oh, wow, these guys are so much bigger. I actually don't feel that way at all.
No, for sure. And I think back to that Florida game, and the thing that we were all worried about coming in was Florida's front court. It was Florida's backcourt that outplayed Arkansas in the first half and really helped them build that lead. Someone like Xavier Lee, who's not on the same level as any of these guys that we're talking about, he was able to have a ton of success against Arkansas's backcourt. And so I think in this matchup, we're going to talk a lot about Arizona's physicality and rebounding and some of the size they have down low. I think if Arkansas can do a good job and win that backcourt matchup, which is what Arkansas, that's kind of their claim to fame, they're going to need that to happen. I think they're going to have a good opportunity. But, man, Burries and Bradley definitely concerned me a lot. One from just think about this Arizona team that doesn't shoot it crazy amount. Those two guys can light it up a little bit. And I think if Arkansas is going to beat Arizona, they're going to have to cut the head off of that snake. You're going to deal with the rebounding, but we've seen Arkansas overcome these matchups where they just turn some lights out on us. But we've seen Arkansas overcome playing against some teams that have a little bit of an edge on them down low. It's rare that someone is really able to go toe-to-toe with Arkansas's backcourt. And so I think that's really what this matchup is going to come down to. But I got to say, Arizona didn't shoot it great in the time that we were out there. We'll see if they're great under the lights. But I think that's got to be what you have to force Arizona to be, is this back-and-forth backcourt matchup. Those guys are good. I really like Braden Burries, but I think Arkansas takes that matchup.
Yeah, and I don't, it's not like they're going to stretch the floor with their bigs either. Arizona, they shoot very few threes compared to the rest of the country. I think they're 363rd out of 365 teams. They do shoot at 36.4%. So, like, they make a pretty good clip with the ones that they take. But in terms of volume, like, I see Burries, he's made 62 on the season, so roughly 2 a game. He's shooting nearly 40%. He's really good out there. But, like Jaden Bradley, he's a 40% shooter, but he's making less than 1 a game. Karchenkov, he's 32%. Del Orso comes off the bench. He was a sniper for him last year. He's at 32%. And the other guy, Aristode, he's a freshman that comes off the bench for him, and he's 45%. But again, another guy who's making less than 1 per game. So there's not a whole lot of volume there. And what I don't see is a lot of guys in that front court who are stretching the floor. So, if you are a Malik Ewan or a Trevor Brazile or a Nick Pringle, whoever's in there, you really don't have to extend out too far. And maybe that's something that can help Arkansas a little bit to defend some of those driving lanes, because those guards are so good at getting downhill and drawing contact. They're really good in pick and roll and dicing teams, and Arkansas struggled with that. So maybe it's a pick your poison type of situation. You just don't you don't have to extend all the way out to the 3-point line on some of those guys.
Yeah, and you know how it is in these matchups, where if they come out and they hit 4 threes in the first few minutes, all of a sudden, maybe Arkansas will be going out and helping a little bit more. But sometimes when you think what your opponent's going to do, you're allowed to cheat. You're allowed to just anticipate what they're going to do, pack that paint a little bit, force Arizona to shoot a little bit. And, like you said, they have some guys who are efficient in the shots that they take. But even a guy like Jaden Bradley, their guy, not necessarily going to hoist up 9 threes. Like, he doesn't feel comfortable doing that. Will Arkansas be able to make him uncomfortable? And also, will Arizona be able to anticipate what they think Arkansas is going to do. They might know that as well going into this matchup of, oh, these guys are going to be worried about our size. They're going to be packing the paint. I'm going to be able to walk into some threes. That could also be a factor here, but I think that's going to be a very big thing to figure out in the first 5 minutes of the game is how aggressive is Arkansas at packing that paint and forcing things outside, and is Arizona going to take the bait? Or are they going to kind of be a little bit worried about it and be like, no, we got to force it. We got to force it inside. It's going to be very fascinating.
That is the funny, the interesting part of this chess match here, because you could keep going on down the line with some of this, like, Arkansas. Well, how worried are they going to be about Arizona's ability to get on the offensive glass? Sure. But if you're Arizona, how hard do you want to crash the offensive glass because of the way that Arkansas can get down the floor in transition? They're going to be keenly aware of that. So we could go on and on and on, but I think that there's certainly a level of respect and awareness from Arizona about what Arkansas is capable of doing offensively. One of the best quotes of the entire press conference came from Tommy Lloyd. He was asked about Arkansas, and he was like, dude, they're putting up video game numbers on offense. And it's true. They really are. I mean, it's one of the most efficient offenses in the country. He spoke to their, the ability to get down the floor in transition. He's, Tommy Lloyd, the guy who's very familiar with Darius Acuff because he coached him with USA Basketball. I've forgotten about that. So he spent about a month with him when they were, beating up on Team Mexico or whoever it was in some of those FIBA events. So he's obviously very aware of what all these guys are capable of. And it's sometimes you hear Cal say the thing about it's our will against their will type of thing. And
he ran that back today.
Exactly. We're going to play our game. They're going to play their game. And, you roll your eyes a little bit because, like, oh, we know that they go in depth with these scouting reports and all these intricacies and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much true because they're not going to change who they are too much for Arkansas. Arkansas is certainly not going to change who they are for Arizona. It's just kind of a matter of which style wins and maybe which players step up when the lights are the brightest. And we got a Darius Acuff out there. You got to feel pretty good about your chances. Now, that being said, not only is a guy like Jaden Bradley the Big 12 Player of the Year, he is also widely viewed as one of the best closers in college basketball. So you got two of the best finishers in the game who are going to be going at each other. I just hope that we get to a point where you come out of that last media timeout, the under 4, and the game's still on the line. That way those two dudes can go at it. We'll just see who, like you said, who's is bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I do wonder how Arizona feels about the narrative. And we've talked about this a little bit. I think nationally people have spoken about this, that like the idea that if Arkansas is going to win, they're going to have to get out and run. I'm sure Arizona takes offense to that. And they're kind of like, you know what? We score over 90 a game or whatever it is. Like we can play pretty fast. Like it's not like this is some Tony Bennett Virginia team that's just half court nothing.
They're
all
really
or nothing.
Good in transition on offense. Yeah.
And so I think there's certainly a path to this where you're like, man, could they kind of hold serve in transition against Arkansas and then dominate them down low? I'm sure that's maybe the way they feel it. But I also wonder if there's a little bit of an identity decision that Arizona is going to have to make of like, do we kind of try and, match this? Do we just play Arkansas's game? Or are they going to overcorrect the other way and be like, let's try and make this as slow, knockdown, drag out as we can? If that is the case and Arkansas is able to get out in transition and hit some threes, I start looking at it and I'm like, can y'all score 90? If you're going to play that kind of trudging style, is that going to score 90? And if not, are you going to be able to keep Arkansas under 90? I think this is all very fascinating, but I like what you said about Tommy Lloyd being very aware of what Arkansas brings to the table. I'm not saying he's like scared of Arkansas by any means, but I do think there's a path that this game could play out where maybe Arkansas gets going a little bit early and Arizona's like, dang, I don't know if we can really match that necessarily. I mean, what they score against Utah State, 75 or something like that?
Not a ton, yeah. And they're very well capable of scoring a ton, but a lot of their games, they're in the, upper 70s, low 80s. So,
it's like the low 3-point volume, but high 3-point efficiency. Arkansas does a little bit of that, and we've seen them kind of run into trouble sometimes where it's like, oh, dang, like you're going to need some of those threes. And usually if you're going to score a ton in those other departments, you're going to have to out-rebound someone by a ton. And so it's like Arizona's got their paths to victory. They've got their things they can do well. But I think Arkansas can control some of these variables and maybe bait Arizona into their type of game. And it might end up being one of those, we'll trade you an easy bucket down low without fouling you because we know we're going to get a bucket on the other end. And when it gets down to it, like you said, we get these two closers. That's what Arkansas wants. That's what everybody wants to see, is these two good backcourts go at it down the stretch.
Sure. And hey, folks, make no bones about it. Obviously, we're sitting here trying to kind of dissect all the ways that Arkansas can win this basketball game and where they have their advantages and why you should be confident Arizona's the real deal now. Okay, now make no bones about it. I mean, you don't go 34-2 and win. I think they won the Big 12 regular season and conference tournament title. They got a 1 seed. You don't do that unless you're really, really good. The Big 12 is a tough league, and I don't know, man. I will say though that I feel like it's kind of interesting, right? Because in a way, I feel like Arkansas, it's kind of getting lost in the sauce here that Arkansas also is very, very good by some people. It just, I get a sense by, maybe some fans, some interactions, some comments, Twitter, different things that I see where it's like, man, that's a David versus Goliath thing here. But hopefully Darius Acuff can carry us to the promised land. Well, yeah, sure. But Arkansas is really good too. Like if you go back to February 1st, when Arkansas got that bye week and they came back, from that point on, both these teams are 12-2. They both won their conference tournaments. Arizona ranked 2nd in the country at that time, according to Torvik and the efficiency. Arkansas 12th. So this is really a matchup between two excellent teams. Arizona's had the better season. They're 7.5-point favorites, and rightfully so. They should be. But this is not like some crazy mismatch where Arkansas is just going to have to really do anything playing above their heads. Are they going to have to play an A game? Of course they are. You're going to have to play an A game to beat anybody when you get into the Sweet 16. But if Arizona thinks they can just roll the ball out there and play their B- or an average type of game and beat Arkansas, they got another thing coming. So I'm excited about this matchup. I understand anybody who's cautious or worried about it. You should be, because Arizona is really good. But it is interesting noticing the how the shoe is on the other foot as well, with a lot of those Arizona fans who are looking at this team and going, and we've had a lot of good teams under Tommy Lloyd. We've been a 1 seed before. We've looked like a championship contender before. But for whatever reason, we get to the Sweet 16. It's like our kryptonite. They're kind of feeling the same way we were before Muss broke through, back in the bubble and everything. So kind of an interesting parallel between the two teams. But I look at this and I see the way the bracket is set up and the way it's supposed to shake out. Arizona, right where they're supposed to be. Arkansas, right where they're supposed to be. Let's go play ball.
Yeah, these are two teams that have earned their spot here, both with just winning the 2 games they've won to get here in the NCAA tournament, but also with the way they position themselves in the regular season. Arizona is going into this matchup thinking that they have all the right answers because they've got the well-rounded roster. They've faced all these different types of teams in the Big 12, and I think some Hog fans maybe overlook that a little bit. Arizona's very battle-tested. They played some high-level, big-time teams. They've faced some good backcourts. They have seen it all, and I'm sure they're going into this matchup thinking, hey, Arkansas is not going to be able to throw anything at us that we haven't seen. Same on the Arkansas side. They've faced some of these elite teams. Arkansas has also been embarrassed in some of these games and kind of felt what that's like, and I'm sure that's fueling them in this, where they're thinking 100%. Back to that Houston game, thinking back to that Duke game, thinking back to that Florida game, and thinking, we know what it looked like when we were against an elite team. We're more prepared for this, this matchup this time around. I think both teams are well within their rights to feel that way. They should feel that way. They both deserve to be here. They've got the pieces to go on a deep run, and both teams have the pieces to continue to be a matchup nightmare for any team they face. Which one's going to blink first? Which team is going to get into this matchup and find out we might not have the answers here? We might not be able to slow this team down. We've seen that happen a few times to Arkansas. We haven't really seen it happen definitely in a while for Arizona. It's going to be fascinating, man. And I do wonder if there's if I'm making the case for Arkansas, I do think Arizona peaking a little too early would probably be what I would start the case with. But in these matchups, you have to assume that your opponent is going to rise to the occasion. You have to assume you are going to get the most dangerous version of them. The most dangerous version of Arkansas can definitely beat Arizona. The most dangerous version of Arizona, really, maybe even the less dangerous version of them, can beat anyone in the country. It really is that simple. We're going to talk. It's going to play out. Someone's going to be right, but both of these teams are awesome, and I just can't wait to watch them out there on the floor.
100%, man. Arkansas' strength, obviously, on the offensive end of the floor. Arizona, very good defensive team. We saw them out there today. Just so on your Andrew Ellis confidence level scale of Arkansas's ability to score on Arizona the way that they've scored on other teams throughout the course of the season, because it does feel like they are going to need to put up quite a bit of points. Where are you at on a 1 to 10 scale of your confidence in Arkansas being able to go out there and get the buckets necessary to do this?
I'm fairly confident. I would say I'm like a 7 out of 10.
7 is where I was going to go.
Now, I don't, is Arkansas going to score 100? Are they going to shoot 58% from the floor? Probably not. But we've seen Arkansas play in a bunch of different styles of games. Arkansas has different paths to scoring a ton of points. We've seen them knock down 15 three-pointers in a game very recently. We've also seen them shoot like 64% from two-point range.
Take 12 threes.
We've seen them, we've seen them have 55 points in the paint. Like, we've seen them do it inside, outside. We've seen Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, even Billy Richmond, kill teams from mid-range. Like, Arkansas can score at all three levels, which is something that we say a lot. A three-level scorer. Arkansas really does have a three-level scoring attack, and I think Arizona is very good defensively. I think Arkansas has these threes that are just going to be available to them because Arizona is going to be willing to live with that. Trevin Brazil is going to have unlimited wide open threes if he so chooses. Billy Richmond is going to have unlimited wide open threes if he so chooses. I think for Arkansas to really play their A game against Arizona, you're probably going to need a couple of variables like that to go your way, maybe even a DJ Wagner 3 or 2. But I have pretty close to zero doubt that Darius Acuff is going to be ready for this challenge, and he knows exactly what Arizona is going to throw at him. They've got some interesting, bodies they can throw at him as well. Like, they're going to do their work to try and slow him down, but that usually hasn't messed him up too much. And even if they make him work a little bit, I trust that he's going to get his. And so I think Arkansas absolutely can score on Arizona. Will they? We'll see.
Be nice to see Acuff and Malik Thomas just go scorched earth out there like they did at Alabama. It would cure a lot of our insecurities going into this.
I know it's a little bit of a cop out. As any basketball game you go into, you could just be like, well, the team that shoots really well from three, that's who's going to win this game or whatever. I think Arkansas is going to have to shoot the ball really well. I will say that. There's been like the Hawaii matchup. They make 4 threes. They still score 97. That ain't happening in this game. You are not going 4 for 21 from three and still going to score 90 against Arizona. Like, you're going to have to really work for some of these. And so I think it comes down to, are those guys ready to make those shots that Arizona is going to be kind of willing to give you? Not that they're going to be daring Malik Thomas to shoot from three, but I think if he gets hot early, it's going to be interesting.
If I told you Arkansas hits more than 10 threes and has fewer than 10 turnovers,
that's what they do in a lot of games, I will say.
Exactly.
That doesn't surprise me necessarily. I think they pretty much have to do that, if I'm being honest with you.
So
too. I think that you have to, they take good care of the basketball for the most part. I'm more confident in that they're not going to have 15 turnovers or anything crazy like that. But yeah, I think both of those things need to happen. I also think you have to be within 3 to 5 in the rebounding department for the most part. And really, it probably comes down to more offensive rebounds.
Boards for sure.
Yeah, but I think if those two things go your way, Arkansas is 1,000% right in this game.
What do we think a good magic number is for Arkansas in this game? Like, I don't see a world where Arkansas wins this game in the 70s. You know what I mean?
I think Arkansas's got to score 90.
I was really kind of the same wavelength. I mean, and that's what they average. So it's not a crazy thing to consider here. Could Arizona beat Arkansas in a game that's played in the 90s? Yes, they could. But I think Arkansas needs to hit that number to be able to get through this. And, maybe they could win it scoring 87 or 88, but they got to be up there in the scoring department for sure. I think they can get there. We'll see how much they can guard. But I will say this, we were talking about how, Arkansas, like the pathway to winning, they probably got to get up and down. They got to really run, and how Arizona might take that a little bit personal. I can tell you firsthand experience from the locker room earlier, been talking to some of these guys about like, hey, I think everybody's pretty confident in your ability to score, but anyone who's projecting you to lose this game is doing it because they don't think you can guard. They don't think you can get the stops against a team like Arizona. And those guys didn't like that too much. They'll downplay it some. They had a chip on their shoulder over it. Even when I said it, DJ Wagner kind of gave like the he didn't like that at all. Now, does that mean all of a sudden you're going to be better defensively? No, not necessarily. Not against one of the best offensive teams in the country. But at the same time, what is defense? You got all 5 guys, and we're only as strong as our weakest link. Yeah, well, that's true. But pick and roll coverages, what are we going to do? There's a lot of nuance there. But for the most part, it's effort and want to. And so if you're pissed off and you feel like you have something to prove when you're out there, maybe that could give them just a little bit of an edge to play a little bit better on that end of the floor than they have been. And if you add the extra body in Nick Pringle or an extra body in Isaiah Sealy, all of a sudden you can be a little bit more aggressive. You can try to match physicality a little bit better because you're not freaking out about, well, hell, if I get an early whistle here, what are we going to do? If I get 2 fouls, we're screwed for the second half. You don't have to think about those things as much. So maybe there'll be something to it. Maybe there won't. I don't know. But we're trying to find pathways here for Arkansas to get this thing done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at Arizona as a team overall and their offense, very good on paper, and they've got guys that can score. I mean, really, and same thing at all three levels for the most part. I wouldn't say Arizona is necessarily coming into this game as this offensive juggernaut that's just been firing on all cylinders. Like, I'm not saying they've gotten worse offensively, but I don't think they are necessarily taking strides. Like, they are still leveling up offensively. And so I think Arkansas defensively, I mean, we've seen a lot of different matchups where you're like, oh, crap, Arkansas has issues guarding these guys. So I'm certainly not going to be surprised if we get into this game and 5 minutes in, we're like, Arkansas is really struggling to get those stops. But I do like the aspect of Arkansas taking that personally, and they should. And also, this is a completely different matchup than High Point. And I know I'm not saying Arizona's a worse team than High Point or even a worse offense than High Point. They're not. They're a better offense than High Point. It's just a different matchup. And so there's not much about that High Point game that you can extrapolate and take into this game, if I'm being honest with you. And that works good and bad. Like, it's going to be harder for Arkansas to score on Arizona than it was on High Point and than it was on Hawaii. But I think Arizona, if you can force them to be a high 3-point volume team, they got guys that can knock it down. So, you know, of course it's possible they just make 15 threes tomorrow, in which case Arkansas is probably boned. But I definitely think there are paths to Arkansas being a lot more competitive. And I also think when it gets down to the crunch time, as much as we like to put the ball in Darius Acup's hands, in crunch time, it's pretty easy. You're tired. You've been playing a tough physical game. There's 3 minutes left on the clock and your season's on the line. If you can't get motivated to defend on that possession, you probably just don't need to be here. Sure. And we saw Arkansas last week against High Point come up with those stops. Billy Richmond specifically made a few huge plays. Malik Ewan made a couple huge plays down the stretch. It could be one of those games where Arkansas gives up their buckets within the flow of the offense and within the flow of the game and not trying to pick up fouls. But don't be surprised if Arkansas gets in these guys' shorts down the stretch. We saw them do it against Texas Tech. They didn't get a stop all game. Then all of a sudden, down in the last 4 minutes, it's like they just look like a pretty good defensive team. And so that could be one of those things where it's like maybe they score 85, 90 on Arkansas. But when we get down to the final 3 minutes, can Arkansas dig deep and get those stops? And can Darius and Malik make those plays on the other end? I think there's definitely something there to that.
Yeah. The last time Arizona hit double-digit threes in a game was January 24th. It's the only time they've done it in 2026.
Holy cow.
That's crazy. Now, they get a lot of work done around the rim, but just saying.
I mean, they have 20-something offensive rebounds the other day, and they still only scored like 78 points, you know? And so that they're, you know, they certainly have their ways to score, but they might be a little bit more dependent on some of these things to go right than we think.
It's going to be a good game.
I know. I'm fired up.
I'm really excited about this. Is anybody even paying attention to Texas and Purdue? Did you even notice they were here today?
I only did because I saw Cal and Matt Painter shake hands.
That was cool. And then
Matt Painter's
remember,
a big boy, by the way. You don't talk about size. Matt Painter's a big boy.
The only thing I saw from Texas was we walked back into the media room and he was on all the jumbo screens that are in there doing his interview. Tremont March, man.
We have this running bit where Curtis will just say, "There he is," about like someone that like is completely random. You know, it'll be just some random media guy. You did that when we walked in and we saw Tremont Mark on the podium. You said, "Oh, there he is." And I don't know, it's a very stupid inside joke that we have together, but we say "there he is" for like literally like someone that we've maybe seen twice in our entire lives. He'll walk up and, "Oh, there he is." And it kind of implies, you know, we like doing that, but that was one of your best "there he is" I thought.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's good stuff. Okay. Well, before we get out of here, just want to remind everybody that there's a lot going on tomorrow. So we are probably going to do Inside Arkansas Live at our typical time. Maybe that's from here. Maybe it's from the Airbnb. I don't know. But we are locking down our place to do our Pot the Palace pregame and postgame shows for tomorrow. So there's just going to be a lot of us going live and talking about all this before and after the basketball game. So be on the lookout on social media as we kind of lock that stuff in. I'm sure we'll be putting out some graphics and tweets and letting all the Razorback fans who are down here know where to go if you want to check it out, and then let you guys back home know when to tune in and hang out with us. But before we get out of here, Andrew, it's prediction time. You know, we have to do it.
I got to make my prediction right now.
I already did it on television earlier. So
wow.
I got put on the spot. So.
That's brutal. I did not realize I was making a prediction right now, but I got to be honest with you, Curtis. I'm going to pick Arizona, and it's not because I don't think Arkansas can win. It's not because I don't believe in Arkansas. That's just what I expect to happen. And I would love for my expectations to be not met here in this case. I'm picking Arizona more or less as a kind of respect to them and the season they've had and what they've accomplished. And like I said earlier, they're very battle tested. Like I know we like to think like, oh, we're going to show them something they've never seen. And, they haven't seen Darius Acuff. It is possible, but I think this team has answers to a lot of different problems, and they are just well-rounded. And so there's just really there's things that Arkansas is going to be able to do well against them. And I think there's even things that Arkansas can do well enough to where they win the actual game. I think we're looking at a coin flip here. I really genuinely do. Mm-hmm. But I think when I look at this from just a on-paper standpoint, I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas beat them. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Arkansas put a lot of pressure on them to where it's they might even have them rattled a little bit, might even win by 10. Just because of the way Arkansas plays, when they start getting their groove, they can be pretty imposing. I think I have to lean Arizona here in a coin flip. So I'm going to go 94-88, the Wildcats win. And I think their guards are going to make big plays down the stretch that will offset the magic that Darius Acuff is no doubt going to provide. But I think Arkansas is going to show up in this matchup. I think they're going to respect themselves. They're going to show themselves well, but I think Arizona is going to win a close game.
You're probably right.
Did you pick Arkansas on TV?
Of course I did.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pick against Arkansas on television. You're probably right about this, but I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to stick to my guns from my THV 11 spot. I'm going to take Arkansas to win this game. I didn't do a score a while ago. I'll just flip yours. I'll go 94-88 Arkansas, and I'm doing it for one reason and one reason only. Now they've got to stay out of foul trouble. That's going to be such a big part of this. They're going to figure some things out on the glass. We know we've talked about all of it at this point, but I just refuse to accept until I absolutely have to that the end of the Darius Acuff ride happens without having this kind of moment. And he's had some awesome ones. I mean, what he did against High Point was incredible. Still High Point. And some of the regular season games, Alabama and he's had all of those. But I'm just not going to resign myself that the best season in Razorback history for an individual ends without something crazy happening, popping a 1 seed like this. It's going to be a road game for Arkansas. I know there's a bunch of fans up here from Northwest Arkansas. It's going to be an Arizona takeover. Just prepare yourselves now. Thousands. And this is not the Hawaii reporter saying, oh, we got thousands coming from the island. The streets are talking, and then nobody's there. No, this is going to be real. It's going to remind you guys of what it was like for Arkansas playing St. John's and Providence. Well, they won that game when they weren't supposed to either. I'm going to go with the Hogs here, and I'm going to say it's going to be because Darius Acuff just cements that legacy with some of his brilliance there. And he's going to need some help to do it. Him alone is not going to be enough. I know people say that, but it's not. But I'm going to go with Darius Acuff putting the dagger in Arizona and Arkansas getting through this one.
I like that, Curtis. I like that a lot. I think also if Arkansas is winning this game, I feel like we're getting an iconic Malik Thomas performance.
Him too, man.
Hell, we might get it in a loss. It doesn't, regardless of what happens outside of him. I just have a feeling that Malik Thomas is kind of due for. Someone in our comments the other day said he's due to go for 40 on 17 of 19 shooting.
Sounds good.
I don't know about that, but I'll take that for sure. But I think Malik Thomas is another one where I don't think his college career is going to end without us having some a Malik Thomas moment where maybe he scores the first 12 Razorback points or something like that. Maybe he hits 3 straight threes at some point in the second half to kind of get Arkansas back in it. I feel like Malik Thomas is going to go down swinging, no doubt about it. If I can offer just a brief cop-out for my own self.
Sure.
I want people to understand, one, I'm not super confident in. I picked Arizona. I'm not super confident in it. I'm not oh yeah, there's no way Arkansas can win.
You picked Arkansas to cover Arizona to win. It's not.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think this is a coin flip type of game, and I know that sounds crazy, and it's almost putting Arkansas on a pedestal, but I really do think this is a game that is going to come down to the final minutes. I just want you guys to understand how bad of a look it would be, because I know John's going to pick Arkansas to win by 1,000 tomorrow, which is what it is. How bad of a look it would be for all three of us to unanimously be like, yeah, Arkansas is beating Arizona, regardless of what happens. It's that'd be a little bit. Would you guys want to consume content of guys who are just going to pick Arkansas no matter what?
Right.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And by the way, I don't think that's what you did. I think there's obviously, I don't think you're just picking Arkansas because you feel you have to. I think that's what you genuinely feel is going to happen. And there's a lot of people that genuinely feel that's going to happen. You know who kind of feels like that might happen? Tommy Lloyd. He literally said it in his press conference. He was like, I know we might lose tomorrow. And I'm like, why'd you say that? Yeah. Why did you say that? And I want the record to show Hillary Frank picked Arkansas to win. She texted me while we were in the locker room, texted me and said, hey, just a heads up, Arkansas is winning tomorw.
That's all we really need to hear. Honestly.
Great.
That decides it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you knew that already going into this and you picked Arkansas to lose, now I question you just a little bit more than I did before, but I respect your decision. And either way, I think it's going to be one hell of a game. And it's regardless of how the outcome winds up, if this is not an awesome basketball game, I'll be very disappointed.
Yeah.
I won't be disappointed if Arkansas blows them out. But I think there's way more of a path for Arizona to do that to the Hogs. That would really upset me. But I'm excited to see it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody for tuning in with us and just kind of rocking with us throughout this entire journey that we've had here in San Jose. We're about to continue it by frequenting a couple bars and seeing if we can lock down our post-game spots and also going and grabbing a great meal, which we did not eat here at the SAP Center today. So we're going to get out of here for now. Thank you guys so much for everything. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Find us where you find your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or wherever it is that you might listen. For Andrew Ellis, Curtis Wilkerson with the Pot the Palace and Inside Arkansas. You guys have a good one. We'll catch you tomorrow.